Today's podcast is brought to you by Kentucky Farm Bureau Insurance. If your property gets damaged by a storm, it's nice to know there's a Kentucky Farm Bureau insurance agent in your hometown who's committed to making things right. Rain or shine, you can count on the great coverage and personal service you expect from Kentucky's insurance company. To request a free quote, find your local KFB insurance agent at mykfbagent.com. Kentucky Farm Bureau, big on commitment. This is Down the Backroads. I'm Tim Thornberry, editor of the Kentucky Farm Bureau News. Lessons learned from the old outhouse. For those who don't have the luxury of knowing what it's like to live in a house without a bathroom, I will tell you this. There are definite advantages to that, although it would not seem apparent at first thought. As a small child, my family lived in a very old and rural community, a river town that had been in existence since the late 1700s. As you can imagine, many of the homes there were antique to say the least, and most were built at a time when the bathrooms were placed about 20 yards behind the house. That was the case in the home in which I lived, and it was more common during that time when those homes were built to have the toilet outside as opposed to inside. We did have the benefit of added plumbing to the kitchen, so it wasn't like we didn't have running water in the house. But to be honest, there were positive aspects in having an outhouse and lessons that would serve me well throughout my life. First, what seemed like an inconvenience to people not familiar with external bathrooms, it was more of a case of misinformation on their parts. For the folks in our little town, it was a normal fact of life, although it took more effort and energy. The people who lived there were hard workers in the surrounding farm fields and on the river. A small walk to the bathroom was hardly taxing on the body after a hard day's work, and it did provide a little extra exercise. We had very few plumbing problems. We learned patience in my house because there were 5 of us, and waiting in line was a regular occurrence. We learned to be considerate of others. We learned to walk cautiously in the dark. And we learned one person's emergency may not constitute an emergency for another. And running fast during those rainy days and winter months, well, that's just what you did. And later in my young life, when we moved to a home with the full bathroom, we appreciated it so much more, I think, than if we had had it all along. Sometimes it really is the little things in life that mean the most. I say all that to say this. So often, people have a preconceived notion about a particular practice or subject without really taking the time to discover the facts. And once we know those real facts or take the time to hear the whole story, often we can have a change of heart. Wouldn't it be grand if we all took the time to find out the complete story other than just taking hearsay as the whole truth? I can't run as fast as I used to, and I'm blessed to have 3 bathrooms in my home now. But I've taken many lessons with me from experiencing the luxury of that little old outhouse. And there are many lessons others could learn from it as well as we travel down the back road.